Everybody's ready? Thank you to everyone. We will now begin our trustee candidate forum. I just want to say that we normally would have 10 candidates here, but Noelia Candelari had an emergency at work, and she apologizes she's not going to be with us tonight. Your moderator will be John Hessel. Mr. Hessel is Vice President of the New Rochelle League of Women Voters and has moderated for us here in Port Chester several times. Your timekeepers are Sean Parker and Renata Vanderwateren. We thank you all for being here tonight, and at this time, I'd like to turn the forum over to John.
Good evening, everyone. You were all very well behaved in the last forum, so I appreciate that. We've got a lot of candidates here today. We have 9 candidates running. There's really 10 candidates running, but we only have 9 here tonight. We got John Allen down there, David Matthews, Phil DeRazio, George Ford, Sylvia Dundon, Richard Abel, Michael Scarola, Charles Hogg, and Nancy Nalguari. The candidates have been arranged in a random order, and I actually used Excel, and I sorted them randomly. So that's how we got their order tonight. Each candidate has 2 minutes to make an opening statement. When we do the questions, you will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. Because of the number of candidates, there's no rebuttals. So if you have to rebut something, you wait till it's your turn to answer the question, and you can, mention what you want to say in that time. Okay? We have 2 question segments. The first segment will ask questions prepared by the League of Women Voters, and the second segment will consist of audience-submitted questions. To submit a question, obtain an index card from the League, include your full name on the card. All questions must be directed to all the candidates. If your question is read, please stand. We may group the similar questions together. After the question period, there will be closing statements in the opposite order of the opening statements. You're going to start the opening statements, okay? And each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing statements. We have 2 timekeepers over there, okay? And they'll hold up a warning sign when there's 30 seconds of time left, okay? And then the stop sign, okay? And if you keep talking, I'm going to let you finish your sentence, and then I'm going to tell you to stop. Okay? You can't video record this. It's going to be recorded by the League. Please turn off all your cell phones. Okay? We don't want any cell phones going off. Let's hold all our applause until the very end of the forum. And we are ready to get started. Candidates, are you ready?
All right.
Ready. Okay, Mr. Allen, you get the first opening statement.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to thank the Port Chester, Rye Brook, Rye League of Women Voters for organizing this forum, and also I'd like to thank all of you who have come out this evening and all the folks who are watching us online as well to find out our positions and be informed as we come to the election on the 18th. I'm John Allen, and it's been my honor to serve as a Port Chester trustee for the past 3 years. I ran for trustee 3 years ago in order to preserve the character and quality of life that my family fell in love with 9 years ago when we moved here to Port Chester. It's been such an honor serving on this board for the past 3 years and to serve with Mayor Marino and my colleagues on the board as we've made changes to the code and staffing changes that have really moved the village forward in the right direction. I came to this board thinking that the most important aspect of the position is simply crafting legislation to solve problems and issues within the community. But I found that equally important has been the task of evaluating staff and filling vacant positions, creating positions where necessary in consultation with the village manager and the professional staff. And I think that's most evident in the changes that we've made to code enforcement in conjunction with our legal staff. We added a deputy village attorney to focus on court code enforcement, and that has really been a game changer. I'm also proud of the changes we've made to the village code, especially the increase to the parking requirements for new developments to accommodate the parking realities in the current day in Port Chester. We've also worked with the village manager to fund the study of stormwater flows and have been working to improve and replace infrastructure that has been neglected for decades or even over 100 years. and we have replaced much of the stormwater infrastructure, alleviating the flooding.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
the reason
Allen.
I'm running for election is
Thank
the same
you,
reason
Mr.
I ran
Allen.
3 years ago.
Time's up.
Quality of life.
Okay. Mr. Matthews, 2 minutes.
Can I test the mic real quick, please? It just feels far away.
Move it closer if you need to.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Let's get this party started. Good evening, neighbors, friends, and fellow residents of Port Chester. My name is David Matthews, and I am honored to be here before you today as a candidate for the Board of Directors. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to address you this evening. I want to thank the Conservative Party for the nomination, my candidacy, and their support. I want to thank the mayor for his service, and I want to thank the Board of Trustees, the current board, for their service. Port Chester is more than just a village to me. It's a home. It's our home. It's where we raise our families, build our businesses, create lasting memories. And tonight, I want to share with you a vision of a stronger, more vibrant, and inclusive Port Chester. I'm running because I believe in the potential of our community. I've spent 37 years living and working here, and I've seen firsthand the challenges that we face, from ensuring fiscal responsibility and improving infrastructure to supporting our local businesses and schools. But I've also seen the incredible resilience and spirit of our residents. Thank you. Together, we can tackle these challenges and create opportunities for everyone. My priorities are clear: transparency and accountability, economic growth, community safety, and environmental sustainability. Port Chester has a rich and diverse history. From its incorporation, May 14th, 1868, 156 years, to its role as a hub for industry and immigration, establishing a historical preservation commission and adopting a preservation law would ensure that this history is not lost to development or neglect. It would be also the position of Port Chester as a leader in historic preservation setting, example for a community region. By supporting Port Chester's Historical Society, I can't do this alone. I need your support, your ideas, and your voices. This election isn't about me, it's about us. It's about rebuilding and building Port Chester that works for everyone. There are two things we get, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mr. DeRazio?
Thank you very much. My name is Phil DeRazio, and I've served on the Board of Trustees for the past 3 years, and I've been your deputy mayor for the past year. I take this position very seriously, and I pride myself on being the most visible and accessible member of this board. I do not take a salary, and I've never missed a board meeting. I have worked hard to build consensus on our current board, working seamlessly with my fellow trustees, no matter what party they may align. I have led the way in making changes to the form-based code that has closed loopholes left open by previous boards. One major change that we've made was the parking requirements for new development. By increasing the parking ratios and mitigation fees, we've eased the parking problems that we're going to see in the future. I have raised the mitigation fees from $18,000 per deficient space to $45,000 per deficient space. I was instrumental in working with the mayor and village manager and taking the position of prosecutor and appointed position and moving it inside the code enforcement and thus improving our compliance rates. I worked tirelessly on quality of life issues, working with the mayor, village manager, police, code enforcement, building, and DPW to identify areas of the village that need our attention most. Implementing new programs and making sure our departments are staffed and funded properly. I continue to work with the rec department to increase programming and events for our youth. I've gone to Albany multiple times over the past 3 years with our mayor and village manager to ask for funding for projects such as this new gym and rec center right here in this building. I have gone to Albany to work with our representatives and their staff to pass a new law in New York State that allows parking permits in the Washington Park area, with the goal of adding more neighborhoods as we see the success of this program in Washington Park. I went to Albany yesterday to fight on behalf of the residents of Port Chester to fight the increased tax income rates from Con Edison. I have only one thing on my agenda, and that is to make Port Chester a place we can be proud of, a place we can be proud to live, work, and raise a family and play. So I'm very proud to be here, and I hope to represent the village for 3 more years and as your deputy mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ford?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the League of Women Voters for hosting this very important forum, especially considering that we no longer have a local newspaper. So thank you very much. For the last 15 years, I've been in the renewable energy industry developing large-scale solar and storage projects throughout the Northeast region. My wife Karen and I are approaching our 20th year living here in Port Chester. Our 2 children have only called Port Chester home since they were born. My son is currently in the high school, and my daughter is currently in the middle school. Both attended King Street. Anyone who knows our family recognizes that we care about this village. Over the years, I've dedicated countless hours to various volunteer positions to ensure this village had a thoughtful voice, a critical thinker, and that we were moving forward and not backwards. I served and co-chaired the Village Resident Cannabis Committee, the Village Police Reform Committee, the Village CD4 Committee, and the Village Voting Rights Committee. Each were extremely important, from keeping drugs out of sight and out of mind from our youth, funding, not defunding our police department, reviewing and modifying the largest part of our form-based code, and lastly, keeping the village out of federal court so we would not be sued again over our voting system. Over the last 6 weeks, residents from all walks of life were encouraging me to finally run for the Board of Trustees. I'm humbled by their thoughts, their support, their respect, and it moved me to recognize that it was my time. This village stands at a pivotal juncture at this time. We urgently require solid leadership and clear, actionable plans. We grapple with significant quality of life issues, but on March 18th, we have a chance to elevate this community and make this hometown village the one that we will all be proud of. I look forward to making positive and impactful change over the next 3 years. Let's restore quality of life, and let's move Port Chester forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dundon?
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important event, and thank you to all of you for being here tonight to consider all of the candidates. I'm here tonight to ask for your vote and those of your friends and family on Tuesday, March 18th, because Port Chester is an incredible community on track to an even brighter future. And I want to share that with you, as well as with my husband and son who live here with me, and also with our daughter when she returns from college. Over the past 7 years in the village clerk's office and then as head of the Chamber of Commerce for Port Chester and Rye Brook, I have loved connecting residents, businesses, and government to create community and opportunity and to collaborate on shared concerns. With these partnerships, I grew the local chamber into an active and engaged organization with a full calendar of events and programming, supporting buying local, hiring local, and giving back to our local nonprofit organizations. As a trustee, I would continue my work of bringing the village jobs, good housing, and customers for its businesses. Both Main Street and our other commercial areas should be vibrant destinations for dining, entertainment, and shopping. I support smart growth that respects Port Chester's roots and serves the families and merchants who have long made the village their home, as well as new arrivals and newcomers. This requires a service-oriented, responsive, and accountable village staff and rules that are designed and enforced thoughtfully. I work closely with many village senior staff already and believe our baseline of mutual respect and understanding will enable us to set, realize high expectations for their service to you as well as your neighbors. If elected, I will focus the village board on informing, educating, and engaging the community. I sometimes hear people tell me nothing ever changes in this village. So I'm here to tell you I am dedicated to bringing new voices to the table that can combine with voices of longtime leaders and advocates to help all of us move forward. With your vote, those of your friends and family, I can continue to be a connector, consensus builder, and driver of change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abel?
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I'm running for trustee because I'm passionate about our village. I want to see it thrive, and I understand how our government is supposed to work. Some already know me because for more than 40 years, I was the owner and publisher of the Westmore News, which saw me attending just about every board meeting and major event in the village. In that role, I was a watchdog for our residents. I continuously advocated for better standards and policies that put the people first. My career also put me in a position to give voice to the many diverse opinions in our community and to get to know and respect the people behind those voices. Transparency, respect, and community are my top priorities. I will do everything I can as a trustee to engage the public by being open and transparent. To that end, the Board of Trustees should stop having so many closed sessions and untelevised agenda meetings. The board needs to encourage input from stakeholders on all issues facing the village and treat everyone who comes before them with respect. Residents who serve on village boards and commissions should also be treated with the utmost respect. These people volunteer their time to make Port Chester a better place and should be acknowledged and praised for their service. The future development of Port Chester should benefit the community, not the developers. I recognize the need for modernization of our downtown and aging infrastructure, but one of the biggest threats development poses is the weakening of our sense of community. I'm not beholden to a political party. I am not in anyone's pocket. I'm a free thinker with my own ideas, and I've spent my life putting the people of Port Chester first. That's why I created the Watchdog Party, and I'm running on that line as well as the GOP line. I'm so glad to see 10 qualified candidates running for 6 seats
Thank you,
on the
Mr.
board.
Abel. Mr. Scarola?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michael Scarola. My wife and I have been living in Port Chester for 25 years. We have 3 children. One is in college and the other 2 attend Port Chester High School. Over the past 35 years, I've been a manager and a project manager at many banks and financial services companies, such as Citibank. Throughout my career, my responsibilities have included managing people, short-term and long-term projects. In 2006, I volunteered to help the village and joined the Port Chester Planning Commission. I started off as an alternate member, went on to a full member, and for the past 3 to 4 years, I've been honored to serve the village as chairman of the Planning Commission. This year in 2025, I'm again volunteering to serve the village, this time as a trustee. Some topics on my mind as I look forward to this role: development. The village must continue the direction of developing our downtown. Quality of life. Port Chester has to improve the quality of life throughout the village, and that covers a number of issues. Long-term problems. Many long-term problems have been ignored for too long, and in many cases, I believe we are at the breaking point. These topics can't be ignored anymore. It's nobody's fault. We have to stop the blame game and get on with the business of identifying solutions and implementing them. I'm looking forward to this evening's conversation, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Hoag?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the League for having us and for everyone who came out tonight.
Just move that microphone a little closer.
A little further? Okay. My name is Charles Hoag. I am presently a planning commissioner for the past 3 years. I also sat on the Architectural Review Board for over 20 years of the village. I'm honored to be running for trustee of our great village of Port Chester. I am running because I believe in our community and know that with the right leadership, we can make Port Chester an even better place to live, work, and thrive. First and foremost, we need smart development, growth that makes sense for our village. Development should enhance our neighborhoods, not burden them. We must ensure the new projects bring real benefits, like improved infrastructure, green spaces, and economic opportunities, without overwhelming our roads, schools, or services. Second, communication is key. Too often, decisions are made without enough transparency or public input. I want to improve communication both within our village government and with the people who live here and who want to come here in the future. Everyone deserves to know what's happening in their own community, and I will work to make sure information is clear, accessible, and inclusive. Lastly, we must address quality of life issues that impact us daily. To name a few: homelessness, traffic congestion, and parking shortages. These challenges require proactive, thoughtful solutions. We need policies that support those in need while keeping our streets safe and clean. We must also tackle traffic and parking issues with a strategic approach that makes life easier for residents and businesses alike. Port Chester has incredible potential, but we need leadership that listens, plans wisely, and acts in the best interests of all residents. I am ready to bring that leadership, and I ask for your support as we build a stronger,
Thank
more
you.
connected.
Thank you, Mr. Hoag. Okay, Ms. Naulagoare?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Naulawari, and I have the pleasure of calling Port Chester my home for 26 years. I am a mother of two beautiful children, my daughter who is 15, and she's a student at Port Chester High School, and my son who is 26. I've been working as an accountant over the 20 years, and through my professional experience, I've developed a deep understanding of how managed resources are important to benefit the community. I'm running for trustee because my passion about addressing some of the key important issues in our community affect our daily lives. And I have three main reasons for me to run for trustee. The first reason, parking and traffic have become a major challenge for many of us. I believe we need to find practical solutions to ease congestion and improve accessibility. Second, the quality of life in Port Chester is incredibly important for me. I want to ensure that our community remains a vibrant and safe place to live, with the services and amenities that benefit all residents. Finally, I am committed to smart development, respects our history while planning for a sustainable future. I believe in growth that brings value to Port Chester without compromising the essence of what makes our town special. I want to thank the League of Voters for the dedication to keep the public informed and engaged in our community's future. Their hard work helps ensure we are all able to make informed decisions during this important time. As someone who is deeply connected to this town and passionate in making a positive impact, I promise to work very hard with all of you, and I thank you for your time, and I hope to earn your trust and your support.
Okay, thank you very much. So those are all of the opening statements. I'm going to make a suggestion that everybody just keep the microphone as close to you as possible, even you two with sharing, okay? So everybody in the back can hear clearly. Okay, so here's the first question. It's going to start with you, Mr. Matthews down there, okay? And you all have the same question. If you want me to repeat the question, just say, please repeat the question. What do you believe are the two most critical issues facing Port Chester today? What specific policies or initiatives would you advocate to address them? And you have 1.5 minutes, everyone.
I'm going to go with transparency and accountability. I don't feel like people know what's going on in this village. I think that there are a lot of behind the doors issues being resolved, but we don't know the thought process and how they're making these decisions. We just have to live with them. So that's number one. Number two, community safety. We have one of the best police departments in the United States of America. So we need to make sure they are fully trained, they are fully funded, and they're not overworked, and they're not burnt out, and they're not just working like too many hours. I mean, they need to be coherent so they can protect us. They have done a great job of protecting and serving us, but as our village gets bigger and larger and we bring in more people, we need to make sure that we have them by our side.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. D'Orazio.
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. What are the two most critical issues facing Port Chester today? What specific policies or initiatives would you advocate to address them?
Well, by far, the two biggest issues facing Port Chester today, the biggest problems are by far overcrowding and traffic and parking. So we need to address both, and what we've done to address parking is, like I said earlier in my opening statement, we've changed the parking ratios for new development from a 1-to-1 with a buy down to a half a space. This is kind of be technical numbers, no one's going to really understand, but we raised that parking ratio to something we could all live with, to a 1.5-to-1 ratio for parking. We also have implemented parking neighborhood permit passes for the Washington Park area, which would help ease parking in that area. And if that's successful, we're going to move it to other areas. As far as overcrowding, We have a severe overcrowding problem in this village, and what we've done to alleviate that is we made a change to the top of the code enforcement. We saw there was a problem there. We identified the problem. We placed the person in charge, and we put more officers on the ground and put more resources into code enforcement to stop this overcrowding. These new buildings that are coming are not going to help the people that live here now. They're not going to be available and take people, 5 and 6 people in a room and put them in a building. That's not going to happen, even with the 10% set aside for affordable housing. We have to go after the absentee landlords and the overcrowding that's created by them. And we did that by putting money into code enforcement and changing the head of code enforcement to attack this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. D'Orazio. Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. D'Orazio. People told me when I started to consider running for the Board of Trustees that you and I were going to be aligned on 95% of the things, and everything you just said, you and I are aligned on. So I'm happy to hear what just came out of your mouth. Of course, the two issues here are very simple. We have a major quality of life issue in this village. That's the first part. And the second part, it goes hand in hand with what Mr. D'Orazio just spoke about. It's unauthorized and unsafe housing that's littered throughout this village. If you drive down this street, right down Grace Church Street, and you go down any one of these side streets, and you go into other neighborhoods throughout this village, the quality of life for the residents that live there is just unbelievable. It has to change. We're putting lives at risk every day. We're putting our fire department at risk, our volunteers, our police, our EMS that go on these calls. And it's basically an issue that flows from the top all the way down. When you have this type of problem here in Port Chester, it's creating the parking issues. It's creating the traffic problems. It's creating more garbage pickup, more police calls, more fire calls, more kids in the schools, and a bunch of blight and undesirable houses that are just not taken care of. It has to end. And that's the main primary reason why I ran for this board. And many of you have heard me talk about this for many years at the microphone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dundon?
So my angle on quality of life, I echo the sentiments of the two previous speakers, is we need to continue to focus on the revitalization of our downtown corridor. We are poised, especially our waterfront area is poised for even greater things.
Can you just move the microphone a little closer? They're having trouble in the back there.
There we go. Excuse me, my microphone wasn't on. So my angle on quality of life is continuing to focus on our downtown waterfront area, which is on its way to revitalization. I want to continue a lot of the work that I started under the auspices of the Chamber, making sure that not only our existing businesses, longtime businesses, continue to thrive and feel supported and promoted, but also that downtown area, our commercial areas, are primed to continue to attract new investment and new businesses. I think that's really important. In my travels recently, speaking to local residents, I asked them if they actually frequent downtown and where are they going besides Costco and Needed Bread. And I've heard from many residents, there's nothing for me there. I hop in and I hop out. So that needs to change. And even if you don't live downtown, I want you to have a downtown that you want to sip, shop, stroll, stay a while, spend money. A downtown that serves the local residents as well as attracts visitors from surrounding areas. I know that at one time there was a bustling downtown area, and you can have that again.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abel?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. What do you believe are the two most critical issues facing Port Chester today? What specific policies or initiatives would you advocate to address them?
Okay, well, the lead one, and which has been quoted here a number of times, is development. And I think we need community-driven development that benefits the residents over the developers. We need to preserve the unique history and charm of our village while also investing in a modernized downtown. Towering 15-story buildings are not good for the community. We need a better balance. Less studios, one-bedroom apartments, and more family-style units. Studios are good for developers, not for the community. We need to attract families to Port Chester to ensure the community thrives for generations to come. For example, the United Hospital property, the board voted to change the planning there and add 198 studio apartments. And that's just, studios don't create community. And the other side of this, and this leads to transparency, is that recently there was I'll get to that later, okay? That people need to know that the schools will not be overcrowded that was the reason we had a lot of studios. But at a recent agenda meeting where it's not televised, there was a presentation made that the public school, Port Chester Public Schools, will have a decrease in population by 25% in the next 10 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abel. Mr. Scarola.
Thank you. Yeah, the two critical issues, as I see it, is the overcrowding, which has been an issue for a number of election cycles, both trustee cycles as well as the mayoral cycles. I do have to say, I believe that the elections of the past couple of trustee cycles, I believe that message came across loud and clear with respect to code enforcement and addressing the overcrowding issue of this village. It's not a new issue. When you look at the census history of this village, you can see what started to happen between 1980, 1990, certainly between 1990, 2000, and then after that, the population just took off. So code enforcement and dealing with the overcrowding topic is not a new one. I do believe that the board that heard that message loud and clear through the elections, well, COVID happened. So I kind of have to give them a mulligan on that. However, we're past that now, and the message is still loud and clear from the public regarding overcrowding. And there's many ways to tackle it. And I think the current board, and certainly everyone here up tonight, is going to be focused on that. And there's a lot of ways to tackle that. Inspections, code enforcement, a landlord registry, which just occurred recently by the recent board. The other critical issue, I believe, is the infrastructure. I believe it has not been ignored, but frankly, due to financial challenges by the village over years, it hasn't seen the attention it deserves.
Thank you, Mr. Scarola. Mr. Hogue.
Thank you. Strangely enough, you talk about overcrowding, which I do agree with. That is definitely one of the major issues in this village. On the other side, we also have a very large contingent of homeless. When you think of overcrowding and homeless at the same time, how is that possible? We've got all these people in one house, but yet we've got all these people in the streets. I've seen it firsthand. I used to live on the south end, I guess. I'm not very good with the north, south, east, and west type of stuff, but down Midland and Grace Church, actually right down here, there is a huge contingent of homeless people that are in this area, which leads, of course, to unsafe practices. It taxes our police force, our EMS, and on the flip side, the overcrowding, we have these, as many have said, absentee landlords that are not around. They're down in Florida, loving their life, and up here they have these tenements that are housing sometimes upwards of 30 people. It's an insane situation. Although I do have to say things are getting better. Things are moving in the right direction as far as changing the way code enforcement is done. I'm happy to hear that. I'd like to see, of course, more done with that, and I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Algari.
Okay, so I guess we all agree that we have the same issues in Port Chester, traffic, it's getting crowded. So I am a mom. I have my daughter in high school. And I have to say from my own experience, we have not only 2 or 3 or 5 issues in Port Chester, but I also know that all of those issues are being taken care of. Little by little, in different areas, we are working on those directions to keep Port Chester moving forward. But that's why I'm here, because sometimes you need to step up and you need to speak up and say, okay, I am complaining about traffic, I am complaining about the development, but what am I doing? So I am brave, I'm here, because I want to be part of the Board of Trustees and bring my experience, and if I need to learn something new, I will be happy to do it, because I am a doer. I came from my country with no English, and I'm working hard. I have my daughter in high school, like I said, and my son now is 26, and he's going to college, and I want a better future for my daughter, not only for the parking, not only for the development, but I want to be part of this community, and I actively gonna work hard for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Allen?
All right, and I'm pleased to hear everybody is largely in agreement about traffic and parking, overcrowding, code enforcement. These really are our most critical issues. Traffic and parking has been a tremendous issue that everybody has encountered within this village. I am glad and proud to say that we have increased the parking ratios required for new developments. I think there was a very forward-thinking idea that people would not have cars, which I think would be a great idea for the future, but right now in 2025, the people generally still do have cars, and with apartments, the one-to-one ratio is a tremendous improvement. We've also created an overlay zone for the downtown to encourage a parking structure to encourage when the developments occur downtown to allow and encourage parking structures and extra parking to be included. So I think those are concrete developments. And then as far as overcrowding and code enforcement, the fact that we've added an additional village attorney, a deputy village attorney who concentrates on code enforcement, and she is embedded in our code enforcement department. We have a new head of code enforcement, that we now have a working code enforcement department. We're starting to see results. It's a little bit early, but there are concrete results of property owners complying when they are cited by code enforcement.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's the first question. This one is going to start with you, Mr. D'Orazio. What achievable solutions do you have for addressing parking and traffic congestion in the village?
Oh, very simple. I've explained this twice now, and at the risk of repeating myself. We've gone to New York State and got a law passed that many have tried before and failed. We got a neighborhood parking passes, permits allowed in the Washington Park area. We were very generous with the map when we mapped out Washington Park. We see that we have 1,400 spaces in Washington Park, with 111% of those spaces being used. So we've instituted neighborhood parking passes, which is about to roll out. Increasing the parking ratios for developers to make them, something that can work. Is another thing that we've done to do this. We're looking at building a parking structure. We have NDC working on that, finding out a location. We've identified 4 places to build a parking structure. We're not sure which one is going to work, but that is definitely in the works. We're taking money, and we've done all the studies we could possibly can. The bottom line is that this all goes back to overcrowding. So what my parking permit plan will also do is identify neighborhoods, identify houses in the Washington Park area that are applying for 10 and 12 permits in one address, and a red flag is going to go up. So between neighborhood parking permits and increasing the ratios of developers, we have definitely got a jump start on fixing this parking problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. So again, this all should start with the question, why do we have a parking problem, right? We have to identify what the actual issue is first before we can fix it. And we know in these neighborhoods specifically, and I was just at an event recently, a few days ago, with residents of Grey Rock, and I spoke to the fact that when you think about Grey Rock and you think about the area of town which we like to identify as green country up on King Street on the north end, we don't see those type of issues, the traffic and parking issues. Those issues are predominantly in and around the downtown area, and again, the side streets that I spoke of earlier. So when we think about the problem and what is actually happening, we have to identify the issue, and that issue is, again, overcrowded, over-densely populated areas of our village that just can't handle it. The streets weren't built back when they were built for this many cars and this many people. Let's face the facts. The highways themselves weren't built for these type of number of cars and the types of cars we have today. And when you add into the mix commercial vehicles, people dumping commercial vehicles into our village. The problem is compounded. So we're going to start with code enforcement because that's the pinnacle of all of our problems here in the village. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ford. Ms. Dundon?
So I'll speak to the issue and concern of parking again in the downtown business corridor, because I often hear from residents as well as visitors to our downtown community that it's hard to find parking. And of course, that's not good for our businesses, not good for our residents if you can't find a place to park in order to enjoy all of the amenities and great things that we have downtown. So to that end, one of the initiatives I would love to see is the village creating a visual, an online tool that, first of all, tells visitors as well as residents where the available village parking lots are. As many of you know, if you're familiar with the village, we have parking, existing parking, doesn't address all of our needs, but many people don't know where those little pocket parking lots are. So I remember when I was running the chamber, I would often receive phone calls from visitors, oh, hi, you know, this is the Chamber of Commerce, can you tell me where I can park when I come into town tonight to see a show at the Capitol Theater, and by the way, can you recommend a few places to eat? And that immediately made me realize that unless you're a local, you don't know that there's a parking lot necessarily on AD Street or on Highland or wherever, those little pocket parking lots. So some kind of visual tool that we could put online and also easily update as we continue to increase the parking inventory in the village would, I think, would be a relatively easy and inexpensive solution as a start. And also, I think the village should continue to look into public-private partnerships to solve the parking problem.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abel?
Yes, so there is no easy solution to this because we actually have two competing factors for our downtown. One is development and the other is parking and traffic. So if you're going to build 15-story buildings, that's a lot of people. And yes, a 1-to-1 ratio for parking is a start, but if you have a friend over, if you have a party, where are they going to park? So I think that one of the things is we have to increase that ratio of parking for buildings. And the other side, it's sort of ironic, and I remember a past planning director person saying that actually having traffic, too much traffic, is a good thing. It shows that you have a vibrant downtown. I'm not saying, I go back to the times when you could drive through Port Chester in 2 minutes. That's because we had nothing downtown. Well, now that there is traffic, I mean, that's one of the problems. That's one of the things that we're thriving to a point, and that creates the traffic. And that's also will create more people coming, but I think it starts with the development. If you're going to build 1,000 more units of housing downtown, you're going to end up with a lot more traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abel. Mr. Scrolla?
Thank you. Yeah, I live in one of those neighborhoods that does have overnight on-street parking, and I can say with certainty that over the past 25 years, it has definitely gotten much worse. It causes quality of life issues, and there's many ways to tackle that. Enforcement, yes, you can do code enforcement in terms of trying to get into those basements and attics to try to eliminate those unsafe apartments. But when the car's on the street, there used to be an action by the police where they would drive up and down the streets and check the license plates just to see if there's anything that's incorrect with that car. They would also go up and down the streets and see, gee, is a car blocking a driveway, or is it too close to the corner? Does that happen every single week, 52 weeks a year? If not, maybe we should start, and maybe we should have started that a long time ago. The overnight on-street parking situation in these neighborhoods is extremely difficult, and it has to be addressed from a multi-factor approach to deal with this. Yes, we can wait for those unsafe apartments to be eliminated, but recently the current board eliminated spaces close to the corners, which does help sightline in terms of cars pulling out the streets and trying to make turns. You should do that throughout the entire village. If there's overnight on-street parking, every corner should be evaluated.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hoag?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Please?
What achievable solutions do you have for addressing parking and traffic congestion in the village?
Okay. I was on the CD4 committee. At that time, we talked about what we could do as far as traffic and/or parking at the time, and we had actually put forth to the board the idea of permits, and we were told adamantly that it was illegal and not able to be done. I am happy, though, now that they have found a way to figure that out. As far as the overcrowding, that, of course, is an issue. Again, enforcement will help with that. The other situation, though, that we have is, of course, we are so close to Connecticut. We have, unfortunately, a bad situation where people will come here from Connecticut, and I see it on Merritt Street where I work, where right across the street from my office, I'll see 4 or 5 Connecticut plate cars come up, park, all get out, and a white van pull up, and they all jump in there. And then those 4 or 5 cars sit there all day, and sometimes the next day I'm coming to work and they're still there. So that's a huge problem that we have to try and figure out how to curtail. Obviously, the new developments, and as a planning commissioner, we have gone back and forth with the Board of Trustees, again, adamantly to say that we were not happy with the fact that when I came on, it was only 0.5 of parking. They have upped that to 1.1, and as Mr. Abel said, that's a great start.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hoag. Ms. Nwalaguari?
Well, I guess we all agree with the same thing, again, parking, and I am very happy to hear a lot of good solutions to this problem. Because myself, I was thinking, like, what would I do? Because I have the same problem on my street. It's the same problem. I don't have a parking space when I get home. So, and I share the same comment that you did because it happens. I live very close to Greenwich, and then it's a lot of cars with the Connecticut plates park on my street. And I'm pretty sure they don't belong and they are not my neighbors. I'm not complaining that they shouldn't park in somewhere else, but this is the problem that is causing in Port Chester. So I was thinking maybe it could be a good idea to have on the peak hours in the morning with everybody's going to school, to work, to have maybe a little help from the police department to help us with the traffic, because that's what I see in Mamaroneck. When I go to work, I see a lot of police people in different areas close to the schools, and they help with the traffic. So they are not driving by the lights, and they are just helping the community to have a better traffic situation there. That's one that I was thinking. And the permits, I think permits are very, very helpful for us at this moment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Allen?
Yes, at the risk of sounding redundant, there are a lot of items that we've been working on, that we've put in place over the past 3 years, that this has been a tremendous problem, and we certainly recognize parking and traffic to be a tremendous problem. As Trustee DeRazio had said, we have been studying different sites for where we could place a garage, and that we've increased the parking ratios required for new development. In addition to that increase, if a developer tries to buy down, we've increased the amount of money that they need to pay to mitigate that buy down to be more commensurate with what it costs to construct parking spots in a parking garage. We've created the overlay zone in the downtown, which is meant to encourage development in the downtown to also incorporate community parking. And I think the permits was a tremendous idea that we did need to go to our state partners, Senator Mayer and Assemblyman Otis. And I'll say that Trustee DeRazio and Mayor Marino were very instrumental in working with our state partners to get that law passed, which enabled us to have a pilot program for permits, which when we determine it to be successful, we will look into expanding regions that could possibly have permits if they are overcrowded with parking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Matthews?
I just want to start by ending my opening statement. I forgot to tell you, there's 2 things that we all get every day, And that is, when we wake up in the morning, it's a chance and a choice. So tonight, I'm asking you to give me a chance and make me your choice March 18th. Now, with regards to parking, I've been looking at this for a long time, 37 years. I think I got a handle on some of it. Definitely we need to do, as my colleague said, implementing a parking pass system. For me, the system looks like this, and this is just preliminary, and I would work with my colleagues to come up with the best solution. For residents, for residents without on-street residential parking, homeowners without driveways get 2 free passes. Residents, registered renters get 1 pass and are eligible to pay for an additional pass. New developments with parking on premises are eligible for 1 pass. The parking ratio increased from 150 to 2. My other thing is traffic. Very simple. Mill Street, we need police officers at the top and the bottom every weekend to orchestrate traffic all day long. So this way we have a nice flow of traffic, and we make Greenwich and our Byram take that left-hand side you cannot make a left at the top of that hill because that creates so much traffic congestion for us, and they're using our stores and our space. Sorry. Be the sign.
Thank you. This is the third question, and we're starting with you, Mr. Ford. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. What are your priorities when it comes to budget allocation and spending? For example, do you advocate staying within the tax cap?
Thank you. And yes, I do. Look, nobody likes surprises on a yearly basis, right? I think everyone would be happy with seeing a general increase each and every year on their tax bill. We understand we want to pay our employees a fair salary. We want to make sure that they have their benefits. We want to make sure that we're making investments into our infrastructure and into our community. With that said, there are moving parts that will affect how our budget gets done. Number one, we are in a part of the town of Rye. Our homestead and non-homestead ratios change from year to year, and they fluctuate, and that can turn around and have a general increase of 3% one year, but then the next be potentially 6 or 7%. We've seen it not only here at the village level, but also at the school board level as well. But yes, I will always advocate for efficient and effective budgeting and bring respectful thinking to our taxpayers when time comes to ask them for their money each and every year. We'll also address things on an annual basis, but it's critical that we invest into the future of this community. We cannot turn away from investment. It's important that we invest in our police, our fire, our EMS, our recreation department, our code enforcement, our building departments, our DPW, across the board, but we have to do it again in an efficient and effective way. And we also, at this point in time, need to bring the developers to the table and have them participate. They're willing to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dundon?
I fully support any spending that ensures the quality of life for our residents and our business community as well. So that includes anything having to do with ensuring safety, police, fire, EMS, certainly our wonderful village staff, as you know, other candidates tonight have mentioned. There have already been strides made towards ensuring that the village staff is fully supported through human resources and allocation of the necessary resources in order for them to successfully serve you, the residents, and the taxpayers. Certainly, year to year, there are different issues. When we look back to just a few years ago when COVID hit, obviously Port Chester was one of the few communities that was orange zoned, that took a huge hit on our business community. And looking back, I wish the village had been in a better position to support our local businesses and local business owners.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Abel?
Yeah, could you repeat the question?
Sure. What are your priorities when it comes to budget allocation and spending? For example, do you advocate staying within the tax cap?
Okay, so for my many decades of watching people run for office, nobody's ever won that says, I'm going to raise your taxes. So I mean, nobody wants more taxes, maybe, you know. But I think that we need to realize that breaking the tax cap is not a terrible thing every time, depending on the issues of that year, because it is a once-a-year question. So I think that the village board needs to, as a matter of fact, it's on for a public hearing, to allow the village board to break the tax cap. But it's not that they have to break the tax cap, but they need that option if something happens. And, but no, I don't want to raise any taxes, okay? And I'd like to lower them, but that's not real. And so we have to work together to try to keep it down and to have all the options open, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Scroller?
Thank you. Yes, I would definitely advocate to stay within the 2% property tax cap. That said, I would be open to having discussions with the village staff, the village manager, and taking a hard look at the current situation of the needs. I think there's many long-term problems that, due to finances of the village, property values, et cetera, that have been put off for decades. And now it's all crumbling in front of us. A lot of efforts have been made by recent boards to react and to address some of these things, but these are long-term issues. So you can have your 2% property tax cap today, but dealing with these long-term issues, whether it be buildings or infrastructure, you may pay for it twice or three times down the road. So I think you need that healthy evaluation of, and being able to be honest with the voters and say, again, I agree with Rich just now, it is an annual exercise, but to be able to explain why you're raising taxes as you are and what the priorities are. From a communication standpoint, I do believe it would be a little healthier to have that dialogue with the village, with the taxpayers, maybe 60 days after you adopt your budget. Let the people come out and scream at you for raising their taxes, but then you can explain the long-term issues that you're dealing with. I think that would be actually a better opportunity than currently, which is like 60 days before an election.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hoag?
To the heart of transparency, the mechanics of taxes and all of that sort are not my bailiwick. From the standpoint, and through osmosis, from the line here, I would not want to raise taxes, of course not. I don't own any property in this village. I don't have necessarily the burden of taxes as some might have in this village, but I do rent, and I do realize that my landowner does pay taxes, and if those taxes go up, my rent goes up. So from that standpoint, I would not want to break it. I do understand, though, that there may come times when it will be feasible to raise taxes, as long as those taxes are being raised to go towards good projects. I mean, again, taxes at this moment are not my forte. When I'm elected, though, I will make sure to work with the people that I need to work with to learn what I need to learn, to get up to speed very quickly, and implement whatever may need to be implemented. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nalagwari?
Well, I've been working many years in budgets, and little by little I started learning where do you need to spend your money and how. So for me, I agree, I would not vote to increase taxes. I own a house with my mom, and we paid a lot of taxes already, so it's critical. But I understand the importance of this situation, the taxes increasing in Port Chester, and many residents, retired people, they don't afford to pay taxes anymore. And now that we're having cuts in the federal resources, is going to be more difficult for us. So I hope that we're going to have a solution for this with the Board of Trustees and the mayor, because as a resident and as a homeowner, I would like to learn more about how can we better take care of the taxes in our community, because it's an important issue that we need to take care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Allen?
Yes, I believe the question started with priorities on budget allocations, and I'd say that public safety requests, I think, really take priority, and listening to the demands of our police, fire, and EMS as far as what are the top priorities. But I think that priorities are really to maintain staffing. That we have often been deficient in staffing. We still have some vacancies that need to be filled, but to maintain staffing and the benefits that our staff receive. But when we eliminate staff positions, we feel it. We don't have a tremendous staff here. I believe it's around 150 folks working for the village, and when we do lose somebody, it impacts the village. So I believe in maintaining our staffing levels and in order to maintain services. I believe in looking for efficiencies, which is what I've done with the county clerk's office the past 20 years, maintaining a flat or decreasing budget. And my position on the tax cap is that it's an artificial goalpost, that it's a laudable goal to try to stay under the tax cap. But when there are needs of the community that require us to go above the tax cap, I don't think that the tax cap is an inviolable
Thank you, Mr.
line.
Allen.
Thank you.
Mr. Matthews. Would you like me to do the question for you again?
Yes, please.
Okay. What are your priorities when it comes to budget allocation and spending? For example, do you advocate staying within the tax cap?
I 100% advocate staying within the tax cap. 100%. That is non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned. We do have a lot of commitments, however, they're manageable. What do? It's called fiscal responsibility. We sort of bring that idea and concept across to the board, other trustees. Budget management is our responsibility. That's why you are electing us, to be responsible with the funds that we have and the resources that you provide to us. I want to advocate for prioritizing essential services, because those are critical to the success and sustainability of our village. Grant opportunities, I want to seek state and federal grants to fund local projects without overburdening our taxpayers. Long-term planning, focus on sustainable financial planning to address future challenges. We know our infrastructure. We know what's going to break. All we have to do is look at the studies, all the studies we've done. We've done study after study. We know what the problems are. And when we look at, last thing, one thing I was going to forget, is that it's doable, staying within the budget. There's so many different grants that are available to us that we have not applied for. We just need to get better at applying for grants, because the money and the funds are there for villages like Port Chester and what we deliver to our communities.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mr. DeRazio?
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. What are your priorities when it comes to budget allocation and spending? For example, do you advocate staying within the tax cap?
Well, again, I'll agree with Trustee Allen. The tax cap is a phantom goalpost. It really is. It's something that was devised years ago. It's a 2% increase. It's a ridiculous amount. I mean, that's going to make or break anything. We provide so many services here in the village that you have a choice. You could either lower your taxes and lower your services, increase services, and try to stay at or right above the tax cap. In the first year I was on the board, we stayed below the tax cap and we increased services. Last year we went just above the tax cap and we increased services again. So we're talking about a 2% increase in taxes, where it's not something that's designed to be done, that's something we're looking to do, but it's something that we have to figure out that we may have to do. We have a public hearing now to decide whether we're going to do it. Doesn't mean we are or not. But it's better at raising the taxes a small 2% every year than coming back 5 years from now and having a 15 or 20% increase down the road. It's ridiculous not to go above the tax cap when needed, or not to vote to have the option to go above the tax cap. What Mr. Matthew fails to realize is that grants and funds coming in are being cut left and right. So they're not flowing in as they used to be. We just lost $750,000 on a grant that we're supposed to get from the federal government. And we were supposed to get $2.7 million. We're now getting just slightly a hair under $2 million. So the money doesn't flow in from Washington in the county.
Thank you,
Like a
Mr.
water
Tarazio.
faucet.
Okay, this is question number 4, and it's going to start with you, Ms. Dundon. What is your stance on balancing new developments with the need for affordable housing, and how will you support small businesses and ensure that downtown Port Chester remains a vibrant hub for residents and visitors?
So I know I touched a little bit upon this. This is really at the forefront of issues in this community. Development is happening. I know there are mixed reactions, a lot of concern over development, but the growth is happening. There are about a dozen projects in the pipeline that are going to add about 4,000 units to this community. 1,000 of those are going to be at the former United Hospital site. So that development alone has 1,000 units. And I think that it's really going to be important to make sure that infrastructure issues are addressed appropriately, continuing to partner with our county, state officials to make sure that, as appropriate, they're giving us the proper funding and resources that can properly support the infrastructure. As many of you know, in just the last year, year and a half, Veolia, our water supplier, has increased their rates. Now this, just about a year later, Con Ed is also looking at additional rates, so the village really should be doing everything in its power to advocate for more control, pulling back the reins on these monopolies, but also urging residents and educating residents on these issues, to urge them as well to write to their state and state representatives to advocate for more control.
Okay, thank you very much.
Could you repeat that question?
Sure, Mr. Abel. What is your stance on balancing new developments with the need for affordable housing, and how will you support small businesses and ensure that downtown Port Chester remains a vibrant hub for residents and visitors?
I think having a 10% of affordable housing ratio is good, okay? But remember, affordable doesn't mean low income. The average income to be in an affordable residence is like $80,000. It's based on the county of Westchester. And so that's, we're not talking, even affordable housing is not cheap, okay? So I think that we should have that 10% set aside, okay? But I think the problem we are having, or we will have going forward with all those thousands of potential apartments being built, is that they're not paying their fair share in taxes because of a system called pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, where somebody who wants to build a building of 15 stories, they go to what's called the IDA, the Industrial Development Agency, and they say, I can't build it because it doesn't work for me. And I'm like, well, if it doesn't work, don't build it. Maybe the IDA should be looking at 3- and 4-story buildings where they probably don't work and they need the help. But the bigger the project doesn't help Port Chester.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Scarola?
Thank you. I do support the 10% set aside for the affordable housing units. I've been consistent on that. The housing crisis is a regional crisis, not only Westchester County, but the tri-state area. When you look at what Port Chester has done over the years, over the decades, to contribute towards addressing the housing challenges in Westchester County, last I checked, the Village of Port Chester has already had enough affordable housing units that was equal to the other 30 villages in Westchester County. So I think we have consistently done our bit for King and Country in terms of contributing and trying to contribute. And remember, we are a village. I don't want to get into how other cities in Westchester County are doing with respect to affordable housing units, but I'm confident that Port Chester has certainly done a healthy contribution towards that matter. The topic of the IDA and pilots is a complex one, which would be great for a public discussion at some points. Regarding small business, on the Planning Commission, we have always ensured that the square footage of retail space on the ground floor is at least equal to what it was prior to in the old development. We want to keep and maintain at least the same amount of retail space on the ground floor.
Thank you. Mr. Hoag?
Please repeat the question.
Sure. What is your stance on balancing new developments with the need for affordable housing, and how will you support small businesses and ensure that downtown Port Chester remains a vibrant hub for residents and visitors?
I do agree with the 10% affordable housing allocation. As Mr. Abel said, just because it's called affordable housing does not necessarily mean it is affordable housing. To be quite honest, I couldn't afford to be living in an affordable housing unit. Again, I'm honest. As far as trying to balance the amount of development that we want and need in the village with the amount of offering the said low-income housing, it's a formula that's beyond me at this moment. I can't fathom the amount of math that would have to go into that. As far as the businesses go, as Mr. Scarola said, and as also a planning commissioner, we fight very hard for our businesses in the village. When new developments come in and offer less square footage for commercial, we are not happy about that. We jump on that very quickly. We advocate to have more retail in our village, because without retail, we have nobody walking the streets. We have no vibrance, no energy. And Port Chester needs energy. It needs healthy, vibrant energy to become what it can be. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Malagari?
Well, I don't have full understanding of how we could help the business, because I don't have a business, but I go to many businesses, and I have friends that they have businesses, and I have to say many of them are happy and many of them are not. So I always going to have some opinions, positive opinions, negative opinions. So it's something that I would like to discuss with the board if I am elected, because, like I said, there's a lot of opinions, positive and negative. But helping the small business in Port Chester, I think we are in the right path, because I see a lot of business running in Port Chester. I see a lot of happy people, happy clients, and we are very attractive to business, because many people come from many different places, from Elmsford, from Tarrytown, from Connecticut. They come to enjoy our restaurants, and we have a lot of business here. In terms of housing, I see a lot of problems. I have a lot of neighbors that they are complaining a lot about the rent increasing. And it's also something that I would like to talk to the board, because I cannot come with a solution. This is not something that I am expertise on this, but I would love to help to see